I hit the record before we even start because that's a thing. People like to see a little bit of the behind the scenes before you actually get going. All right, Tom. You good to go, brother?
Good to go.
All right. And here we go. I'm your host, Mark Meinke, and this is the Meinke Show podcast. All right. Well, this is going to be a podcast marathon day today, I think. I have on the show a radio personality by the name of Tom, or Tom, if you like saying it twice.
Yeah.
Tom, thanks for being here, man. Super appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bring that mic in just a little bit closer there.
There we go.
There you go. And looking over top of it is fine. We're good. I don't have to see that handsome face of yours. So, Tom, tell me, how did you fall into radio?
It's quite a story.
Well, good. This is the place where we tell quite a stories.
Exactly, right? So about 2 years ago, I was working at a hat store, and I was holding a door frame, and somebody pushed the big cement wall, and it shattered my wrist.
Jesus.
Is
that what the big scar is?
That's what that is.
That's a serious scar. That's badass. But you got to get a better story for it. Like I was in an axe fight.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or charging a rhinoceros, tore it off.
I tell everybody, it was a shark thing.
Shark? That's good. That's
it was
good.
Malibu, one with my hot body that I don't have. So that happened. And so he pushed this wall and it shattered my wrist. And so I did like right around there.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
You got a bigger voice than I expected.
I know. So that happened and I stopped working. I had a surgery to fix it. That did not fix it. Don't you know? And then I had another surgery where they put a steel plate in my hand, 7.5 inch plate, and they did a 4-corner fusion on my wrist, so my wrist no longer bends. And so we are getting to the radio thing, but
we'll get there eventually.
I know. So that happened, and I got the steel plate in my wrist. I was off work for 2 years, and then I was looking for work again, and I had no intention of being in radio whatsoever. I knew Logan from the morning show, and I went to school with him, and I was looking for something, and he had reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Hey, we're looking for a guy for our midday show on the Eagle." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like that sounds like fun." But he said, "I think you're more suited for news." And I was like, "Oh, okay. News reporting. How riveting." So I went for the interview. And they said, I think you're going to do great in news and this, that, and the other. And as the interview process went on for about 6 weeks, by the end of it, they said, "No, I think you have too much personality and you should probably be on air. But don't worry, because we're going to teach you absolutely everything you're going to need to know." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, sounds good." So
entry level. Here you go.
Seriously, so very entry level. And
so they're not looking necessarily for somebody that's got a degree in broadcasting.
Yeah, and that seems to be the way that the industry is changing now. The radio industry is that a lot of people are saying you don't need a broadcast education. Of course, it's nice to have one if you want to go massive, right? If you want to go into large market radio or something like that. But if you're doing small community radio, something like the Eagle or for Sun Country or something like that, you don't necessarily need one because it's all very user-friendly. The way that they run the station is so very user-friendly. It's one system and it's one screen, and you actually can run it from an iPad now. So, yeah, I credit everything to Logan Coots because he taught me everything that I know about radio, and we still work together. So...
Any surprises moving into this space? Things that you like that you didn't know that you'd like?
Yes, the emceeing events. That's something. So because as soon as you become a radio personality, everybody wants you to host their event, right? Because we are used to speaking in front of people, as I'm sure you are as well. Speaking in front of people, connecting with people on a very personal level, which we get to do almost every single day because we talk with a million different people all through the daytime. I was very surprised at that, how people, because before you work in radio or have this, what I call a local celebrity status, before you get one of those, people don't just walk up to you and say hello or ask you for a hug or ask you for a picture or whatever. And when I first started working in radio, people were saying, people would walk up to me in like Walmart at 10:30 at night, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're Tom from the Drive Home Show." I'm like, "Yes, I am." But then they go into like, "I've always wanted to do radio," and you get to talk a lot with people about their dreams and hopes and things like that. But so I was very surprised at that people get this certain air of confidence when they see you.
Hearing all these stories from people and doing all the interviews that you've been doing, has that changed you as a person?
Yes.
How so?
So because we talk with and we interview so many people from so many different walks of life, it makes your perspective on life different. The way that you look at, maybe it's not, let's use a veteran for an example. Both my parents are veterans too.
Oh.
And when we interview, we've done a lot of work with the Legion. We've done a lot of work with veterans. Todd Martin is one of them from Recycle.
Sure.
It just makes you look at it differently, the whole situation differently. Things like PTSD, and you get into those heavier topics. People get very candid about it, and it just makes you look at it differently.
It's a form of travel.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a form of travel, meeting, like there's different types of travelers. A friend of mine, he's an Air Canada pilot, and his idea of travel is the beach and the parties and the bars and the fun.
Yep.
That's not really me. I mean, I might have a night of that, but it's more the people and the stories and the culture and the differences and the similarities.
Yep.
You know, that's interesting. And when you're interviewing people, getting to know people, like what you just witnessed, we had Theo Fleury on the show, and holy crap, what a show that was.
Yeah.
Right. But I learned so much, and who knows, maybe Theo did as well because of the conversation. Maybe you did, sitting and watching it.
Yeah.
But it's a form of travel. If you travel the way I like to travel, which is through the people. You know, you don't have to physically go anywhere. I think the challenge is ego in conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
In a conversation, the people want to have all the airtime. They want to be the one talking, and their ideas, as opposed to slowing down and going, but what do you think about that?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is actually giving the number one gift that you can give to a person, which is affirmation.
Yep.
It's the gift of your voice matters.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I have a platform to give people airtime, and much like you, right? We have the ability to get stories out and for things like that. And I think the biggest thing I think that frustrates me about it is people don't use it correctly.
How so?
A lot of people will use it for business growth. They'll use it for getting a very specific message out to a lot of people.
For a pitch.
Yeah, it's a pitch. It's a sales pitch because they want everybody listening. They want to hear exactly what they're asking them for, which sometimes is money, sometimes is donation or whatever. But I don't know if people, I think maybe to go off a little bit off the rails, but people, they don't value good conversation, and people like me and you who thrive on that, or well, I don't know about you, but for me, I thrive on good conversation that is meaningful, right? And I think, like we were just saying, the biggest thing between me and you is that my stuff is very curated to what my listener wants to hear, whereas I think yours is very candid and it's open, and that's what I love about it. But like I said, people don't really value that anymore from a radio perspective, not from any other perspective, but yeah.
I used to be a sales trainer, and there was a Harvard study about the most important character trait of a successful salesperson, and it's curiosity. And I would venture a guess that to do an interview, the most important trait is curiosity. To be truly curious about and compassionate and empathetic to the person on the other side, no matter who they are or what their story is.
Yeah, it's true. I very much agree with that. It's, I think actually, if I go back to you asking me about what surprised me in radio, I think that was how much more curious I got about people. I guess if I could give a nutshell answer to that, how much more curious I got and how much I learned to listen.
Do people on the air, I mean, do you consciously either promote or hide the fact that you're gay as a radio host, as part of your public persona?
So this is a conversation I have with a lot of people. When I first started with radio, I was told to be less flowery. And that was the only time I had ever been told anything like that.
Now, is that a communication style, or are they talking about a gay sounding way of communicating?
It was a gay sounding way of communicating.
Okay.
Covered or umbrellaed by,
Sound less gay, please, Tom.
yes,
That was the message?
essentially was sound less gay.
Okay.
And so I did. And if you listen back to my very first show, which I quite often do, if you listen back to my first show, there's, I'm talking like this, and it's very low, and it's very close to the mic, and it's very boring to listen to. And
A few years later, oh my God.
literally, and I'm like, oh, hey. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I was told. And now, since said person is gone, everybody at my work is so open to it. And they're like, be yourself. 100% be yourself. Do your thing. And because your listeners will love you for you.
Now, so people can infer, but does it actually come out in conversation? Do you ever say like, well, as a gay guy, my perspective is...
No. And I do that not because I necessarily don't have to or have been asked not to. It's myself. I'm there to do a job, not to give you my gay opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm there to talk with you about your thing. And if somebody says to me, I want your opinion as a gay person, I'll be like, all right, let's talk about it. But yeah, I'm just not there to be the typical stereotypical gay radio host to give you my opinion.
Why is it that you think that, and as the straight guy with a shaved head over here, not an Aryan, just so you know, but maybe I can infiltrate them, like secret agent, because I got a shaved head. But why do you think that within the gay community there's either really in the closet and you'd never know kind of thing, and then there's this other extreme of flamboyance, both in communication, in dress, or God help us, those gay pride parades where it's like, what the hell is that? What's going on? You're wearing a Borat thong. What's the deal? Why do you think that there's such an extreme on the flamboyance level, like to the extreme of a Toronto gay pride parade as the like, holy shit, what is that? I've seen some pretty interesting outfits on you on Facebook too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
why do you think that is that a reaction to suppression?
Yes. And if you ask a lot of people in the community, they will tell you it's because I'm free to express my gender. And you absolutely are. But you also have to adhere to the law of nudity. I mean,
it's weird. You just used the wrong term there. That's interesting. You said gender as opposed to sexuality.
Well,
is that conscious, or is that a slip?
I didn't intentionally use gender.
Because that's really interesting that you would do that. Oh, I just wonder if that's Freudian of some sort.
Well, the way that I talk about the LGBTQ community is, I have to think about it because I don't want to say the wrong thing, but myself, I'm just a regular guy. I go to work every day and I go home and I do my thing and I take photographs and I do whatever. I don't go to pride parades wearing my underwear. I don't think we need to do that. And in some cases, I've been called a homophobic homosexual.
What?
In a lot of cases, I've been called that.
Why is that?
Purely because I don't enjoy going to pride parades and seeing people in their underwear.
Okay.
And maybe I'm a little bit just more conservative is the way I would put it.
This reminds me within the veteran community. It's funny, like group dynamics seem to be group dynamics.
Yeah.
There's a douchebaggery within the veteran community where it's like, I'm more of a veteran than you are because of this, that, and the other. And there's also a really holding on to, I mean, Jesus Christ, I got out in 1995.
Yeah.
It'll always be a part of who I am and part of my psychological makeup. But let it go. I've got other stuff that I want to do. Right now I'm going to identify as a radio host, as a podcast host, but that's just something that I do. It's not something that I am.
Yeah.
So the being gay part, right? I mean, I don't run around, and this is what you hear from straight people all the time. I don't run around telling everybody I'm straight, throwing it in your face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're also free to be straight without criticism.
Yeah.
Without a lack of so I can understand sort of that rebound reaction. Kind of like an arrow string. You pull it back, it gets tighter, more resistance.
Yep.
And then to me, the gay pride parade is letting that arrow go.
Yeah.
It's just saying, oh my God, I'm free.
Yeah.
But where the hell was I going with that, Tom?
It's a very crazy subject, the pride thing.
So being gay, how much do you allow that to be part of your identity?
I would say quite a lot.
Okay. Like, do you consciously meter that? It's like, geez, I'm really focusing on the gay part when that's just one facet of what is Tom.
Honestly, I don't consciously think about that, about being like of how much of gay me is out there to people. I am just who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's just,
I guess it's more how much of your overall personality is your self-identity, your sense of identity is what I'm asking about. Like,
right.
In the veteran community, some people are 98% veteran, 2% everything else.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas once you're out, I mean, it should always have a place in your life, but is it 50-50, 60-40, 10-90? I don't know what the right ratio is, but it seems like for some people, being an out of the closet gay person, that's like gay is 80% of their identity. Right. I guess that's what I'm asking. If that makes more sense.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I'm very 50-50.
Okay.
I believe very, very strongly in human rights and equality and all of that sort of stuff. But I also believe very strongly in hustling and working and being a part of the community and all of those sorts of things. And I don't believe that me being gay plays a part in that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I try not to let it, because there's a lot of times I get phone calls from people who are saying things like, or insinuating things like, maybe we need a gay on this panel for this event or whatever. Maybe we need a gay person to give their opinion on this, or maybe we need that or whatever. And I usually say, are you calling me for my knowledge and my experience and my personality, or are you calling me because I'm gay?
Token gay guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I really try not to let that play a part in a lot of things I do. And it does, and it always will.
Have you said no to things because you were smelling that they just wanted the token gay guy and weren't interested in your experience or your intellect?
I haven't said no yet to anything because everything that I've been asked to do or have been asked to be a part of, I have felt was always for the right reasons. And maybe it's because we live in a community where people are so in tune and they're good with that, and they just know, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I've never had to say no to anything, and I'm not sure I would, because I do believe that even being the token gay guy plays an important part in acceptance. If that kind of makes sense.
No, being on the radio, any hate mail, like, hey, you fag, get off the air, anything like that?
No. Not as of yet.
No, just for anybody that doesn't know where the hell Okotoks, Alberta is. First of all, it's Alberta, right? Yeah. So people on, we got lots of listeners, Ontario and East,
nice,
Newfoundland, and for those people that redneck Alberta, a bunch of homophobes and everything else. We're in frickin' Okotoks, so we are in the middle of cowboy country here.
Yep.
Man Tracker lives just down the road.
Yep.
Okay. Giant pickup trucks wherever you look. Mm-hmm. And this is small town redneck Alberta.
Yeah.
And yet here's a guy on the air not getting hate mail or death threats, stuff like that. Yeah. 30 years ago, you probably would be.
Yep. Absolutely.
Maybe even 20 years ago.
Yeah, and probably even 10 as well. I mean,
so you think there's been a big difference in the last 10 years even?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I mean, the last 10 years, I moved to Canada in 2008.
From?
England.
Okay. I don't hear any English accent at all.
I have none. My parents, my brother, they all do, but I don't. And I actually read up, side note, it's a neurological thing. So if you're 14 or younger, you'll lose it. And if you're 14 or 15 or older, you'll keep it.
I did not know that.
So I was 13 and my brother was 15. So he kept his and I lost mine.
Oh, that's funny.
I did some research on it.
Can you put it on if you want to?
No.
I can't even fake it.
No, not at all.
Well, I'm going to absolutely try to speak English from this point forward, just to see if I can.
I love it. You totally should.
From the rest of this interview, I'm going to do my best to speak English.
Amazing.
To a fellow who was actually born in England.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing. I don't know. But I mean, yes, to answer your question, within the last 10 years, yeah, I think there's a huge difference. In England, they're very progressive. Like they're actually extremely progressive. Things like London, you know, they got GAY, their biggest gay club in the world almost, or one of them, and things like that. So they are very progressive as far as gay goes. As far as Canada goes, we're really quite far behind. But even in the last 10 years, I didn't come out until I was 17. It was New Year's Day of...
When were you sure, though? Before, like, you came out when you're 17, but when were you sure, or were you always sure?
So I have it's kind of a weird thing with me. I dated a girl for 3 years in high school.
Okay.
All the way through to the middle of grade 12. And I always thought I was bisexual because I really love and appreciate women, and I really do. But I hadn't realized at that time that it was on an emotional level that I loved and appreciated women.
Okay.
But on a physical level, of course I love dudes. And of course, emotionally, I love dudes too. But I just hadn't been sure where or who I loved and in what capacity.
Now, did the girlfriend that you had at the time, did she know that you're struggling with that?
Nope.
If struggling is even the right word. I don't know if that's the right word.
I would say it's a struggle. I mean, when I was in that relationship, I was very invested in that relationship, and we had the best and closest relation. And even to this day, she's one of my bestest and closest friends. We just figured it out, honestly. And so we had broken up middle of grade 12, I had dated another girl, and then actually another girl after her. So 2 more girls I went through, and those girls, I was like, hey, listen.
So yeah, your boobs look great. However,
exactly. I mean, your boobs look amazing, but like, you go, girl. Like, you know, it was very that with that relationship. So no. And then when I finally figured it out, I went to, her name was Caitlin, and I went to her, and we'd still kind of been on and off friends. And I said, you know, like, I'm very sorry that I essentially just wasted 3 years of your life, but this is where I'm at now.
Oops.
Yeah. And even to this day, she was so integral in figuring that out. And she knows that because I make it known every time I see her that she was integral to me figuring out who I was. So, and she lives in Ontario now. She just actually enrolled in the military.
Oh, wow.
So she's going on with her life, and she's about to marry another fantastic guy. But yeah, we're still the closest of friends, and I love her very much. But like I said, she was very integral to me figuring out who I was.
How was your family when you came out?
My family dynamic is very weird. My parents, like I said, are both ex-military. So my mom was Royal Air Force. My dad was Navy.
I have so many Navy jokes right now.
I know. Everybody does.
Hey, ex-Army, so I'm allowed.
Exactly, right? There you go.
But both your parents, thank you for your service, all the same.
Right? So my dad struggles really bad with PTSD. And this is kind of when you guys were talking. This is why I was so engrossed in it. But he struggles very badly with PTSD. He's a City of Calgary police and a federal bodyguard.
Okay.
Now. And my mom is executive operations manager for Avis and Young. So they're very like, they live their lives, they work their 12-hour shifts, and they do the thing, and they come home, shoes are off at the door, very strict, very British, strict military. So when I came out, I actually didn't tell them. One of my friends did at the time.
Did you ask your friend to tell him?
No. So
oops, slipped out.
Yeah, it was sort of that situation. And so I didn't really get the opportunity to open that conversation. It was already open for me unintentionally. And then I was asked, my parents asked me. And then it was a struggle for a while because I was trying to figure out, like, how am I going to approach this? Because they're so strict military. And to them, there's no room for gay people in the world at that time, right? I mean, this was...
What year are we talking here?
2014.
Oh, see that now I don't have to do the math. I appreciate that.
Yeah, right. So 2014, it was January 1st, 2014. And even since then, there's a mass shift.
From 14 to now.
Yeah. In our family dynamic.
Oh, in your
Right.
family dynamic.
In the family dynamic. And I would also actually say probably in general as well.
Well, you can't really. Everybody's pretty social justice warrior on Netflix. Like every single show is. I got the Rainbow Plus on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, they're trying a little too hard from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, like watching two guys neck. That's it's a little icky for me, right?
Yeah.
Being a straight guy, but watching it again and again, and it's you get more used to it.
Yep.
Which is good.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have to watch, right? I can turn away or whatever. It's like I don't want to watch my parents kissing either.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Exactly.
There's things that work for me and things that don't.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you're not even allowed to say that.
I know.
You're not even allowed to say, "Yeah, two guys kissing." I'm going to look the other way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to smile and go, "Aw," unless it's a wedding.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, "Aw."
Yeah.
But other than that, but that's okay because that's my sexuality.
Yeah.
Right. And to start getting upset with people because of their sexual preferences is like, okay, so are you telling me that I have to be attracted to both blondes and brunettes?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of idea.
Exactly. I mean, when it comes to this topic, I think people have called me conservative over this, but what I do behind my closed doors is none of your business, and what you do behind your closed doors is none of my business.
Preach it, brother.
And when I see somebody look away when there's two guys macking out on a movie, that's totally okay. You know what I mean? It's the same way that, like, I don't want to see. I watch movies and shows really overdo it when it comes to gay things, and
Sense8 was over the top. Did you watch that series?
No.
It's good, and I forced myself through it. But Jesus Christ,
I know.
they were full throttle, man.
I know. See, and to some extent, that makes me uncomfortable too. Like if I'm watching a show and I see two guys going at it, whoa, like that's just a little much for me because I just don't enjoy intense sex scenes in movies.
Okay,
myself personally,
general.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just don't. But there's such a fine line between being like just not enjoying it and being homophobic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess that's the balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. And people, when somebody looks away from a movie because there's two guys kissing, it isn't because you're homophobic. It's probably just because you don't enjoy it.
Well, let's discuss that term for a second because that's such a funny term.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you're homophobic, well, phobic is a fear.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're a deer is afraid of a tiger.
Yeah.
Right. So who's in the power position here?
Yeah.
So if I'm, don't you want me to be a homophobe? Like it sounds like we need more homophobes out there. That puts the gay person above whoever is I think it's a terrible term.
I agree.
I think it's a terrible term.
Yeah, I think so. Who was it? Was it?
Because it's not accurate.
It's true. Was it Robin Williams? Somebody said something like, "You're not scared of gay people. You're just being an asshole." I think that's what it was. And it's true. I mean,
you know what the difference is? I mean, other than the parts that religion can play, right? Mm-hmm. Which is still coming around.
Yeah.
There's the Victory Church. I've been a couple of times, really impressed with it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of dudes there that are pretty obviously gay.
Yeah.
Either that or they don't know it yet.
Well,
but 100% accepted. Whereas you go to the extreme other side, West was it Westboro Baptist Church?
Westboro Baptist Church,
right?
Yep.
Have you ever seen the interview with Russell Brand and two members of the Westboro Baptist Church?
No. Oh, maybe I did.
Dear Lord, it's the funniest thing I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
it is fabulous.
Oh, maybe I should watch it.
Oh my God, it's so good. But they actually had a really good conversation out there, and hopefully the two members of that church had. But it's that extreme on that end that gives Christianity a bad name in general.
Totally.
And on the left or far left, to bring politics in it, there's this anti-Christian sentiment that I keep hearing again and again, that if you're a Christian, you must be a homophobe, which I can see where they're coming from, because on the extreme of the Westboro Baptist Church, there's all kinds of gradients before you get to Victory Church,
Totally.
Which doesn't have a hint of that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I asked you when I saw you last about conservatism.
Yeah.
Right. Have you experienced from the conservatives that, I'm a member of the UCP, but have you experienced sort of, sort of a unacceptance just based on your sexuality?
Myself personally, no.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's very to the point. Not from anybody directly associated with the UCP.
Okay.
Or at any kind of rally or any kind of event. Nobody has ever treated me with any kind of disrespect.
You've been to UCP events?
Yeah, I've emceed a few of them.
Are you a member of the UCP?
I'm not. And that's just my own personal choice. I need to do some real deep research into political parties to figure out exactly what I want. And that's not saying that I don't agree with some things from UCP and I do agree with other things or whatever. But I've never experienced any kind of, it's actually been from people from the other side that I've had more experiences like that with. Somebody was telling me.
By the other side, you mean?
The NDP or some of those other parties, the Alberta Party and some other things. I've been to some of their events and things that they've had going on. And somebody actually called me a faggot at one of them.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, do you understand where you are, sir? Your party's building block.
So a member of the NDP called you a faggot.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, oh, okay, well, this is how politics is going right now. Anybody from the UCP that I've met, I believe in two very strong things. And I might have touched on this earlier, equality and human rights, but I also believe in a strong, bustling economy that's going to help us, but you can't have one without the other. But
what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm on here, is what I'm hearing from you is that I believe in compassion and kindness and human rights and equality, but don't be a goddamn victim.
Literally, yes.
Pick yourself up. Am I hearing you right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
And there's so many people that do that.
Yeah. I'm oppressed because I'm gay. I'm oppressed because I'm Chinese. I'm oppressed because. And there might be some truth to that, and there certainly was truth to that 10, 20, and the further back you go, the more true it was, right? Yeah. But today, in today's day and age, it may still be a factor, but it's not stopping you.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not a barrier. It may be a factor, but it's not a barrier. It's not preventing you from achieving shit anymore. Not in today's world.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this?
Totally. And that was a conscious choice that I made. I made a choice that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sit around and be like, oh, I can't get this job because I'm gay. I'm like, actually, I'm going to make them hire me because of the qualifications and the experience that I have. Me being gay doesn't actually make any difference whatsoever. What
about your beard, though? Will you allow somebody to hire you because of your beard?
Well, it would hope
that's a hell of a beard. Like that's because it's beyond hipster. Like it's not a hipster. Like that is a legit lumberjack.
Yep,
manly beard.
That's how I roll. I've had this beard since I was 17, and I'm pretty sure my skin color is 2 different tones. Like I think I'm very pale under my beard. But if people don't hire me because of my beard, well then. You don't deserve this beard.
That's right, sister.
Exactly. But I don't know.
I like how you do the you take the lumberjack jacket, right? Which used to be the in my day. Back in my day.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, it was the headbangers that wore the lumberjackets, and you took it so gay.
I really
did. And you were this lumberjacket as a kimono. It's great.
It's a floor length plaid. I love that thing.
You're a gay redneck.
I'm a gay. You see, people call that to me all the time. They're like, "You are a gay redneck," and I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, I got my boots. I wear my boots. I'm very, very involved in the country music industry, and I don't know. It's just one of those things, but." People, I mean, and one thing that I should kind of put out there is people forget that Pride, this year is the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots.
I'm not familiar with that.
So Stonewall.
Educate me, man.
Okay, so very quickly, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but is somebody else, I think they're 7 minutes late. Whoever it is.
That's a bad clock.
Okay.
Oh no, they are late.
They are late. See.
Yeah. Look.
So the Stonewall riots was a black transgender woman who was sick of the police beating on gay people. Because way back, I believe it was, 50 years ago, she was sick of it. She had had enough.
This is in England, I'm guessing?
This is in the U.S.
In the U.S.? Okay.
Yeah. So Stonewall, I believe, is in Michigan or somewhere. It's somewhere. And so she was sick of it. So she started a riot in the Stonewall Inn.
Okay.
And it was considered an integral moment for history. And so there was this massive riot. It was the start of the civil rights movement for really everything. And when people need to, when it comes to pride parades and pride festivals and things like that, people need to think more of that, of how far we've come. It used to be a march. Now it's a parade, right? So people need to educate themselves on the history of pride. And then you can truly see why it is what it is now.
Yeah, don't judge it from the people with the ridiculous skimpy outfits performing sex acts in public.
Yeah, exactly.
Which does happen, which in my personal opinion isn't doing the community any favors.
No, not at all. And if you really want to educate yourself, I mean, go on to Netflix, watch the life and death of Marsha P. Johnson. And that's the woman I was telling you about that started the riot. She mysteriously went missing in the Hudson River.
Jesus.
And so there's so many things on there and documentaries on there that explain into, there's one called something like 50 Years of Freedom or something like that. And it's a documentary that looks at the process of making same-sex marriage legal in the States when it was approved by the Supreme Court. And it documents that entire process. And there's a lot on there. And I just tell everybody to go get educated about it rather than just looking at man thongs. You know what I mean? Don't look at that. Look at why it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we mock what we don't understand.
Totally.
Right. And you see some of those outrageous outfits and penises everywhere.
Oh
there's penis is a penis palooza.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
A guy that was in a BNI group. He's a lawyer. He came out way later in life.
Yeah.
And I was at his place, and there's just cockapalooza. There's cock everywhere.
Yeah.
Decorated with cock candle holders. It's like
totally.
It's like, dude, okay, I get it. You like penis. Got it. Woo.
Yeah.
Tone her down, buddy.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm quite proud of mine, but I'm not going to send you a selfie.
Totally.
Anyway, that went weird.
It's cool.
Tom, thanks for being here, brother.
Dude, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. You take care, pal.
You too.
I'm Mark Meinke, and this is the Mikey Show Podcast.